So, around the summer of 2015, I started a chiptune music project based around a program called LSDJ. You didn't click on the wrong video, by the way. This is gonna make sense in just a moment. For those of you who may not know, LSDJ is a sequencer and a music editor for the Nintendo Game Boy. You can flash it onto a cartridge, play it on a physical Game Boy, or you can emulate it. While it's incredibly in-depth and allows a lot of customization, even to the point of editing the wave shape itself, the sequencer limits you to using only 4 channels for your tracks. Just like is the case with 4-track recording, that limitation really makes you think about what sounds go into what channel and be a whole lot more calculated in your choices. And that's something that I find so incredibly fascinating. Having something that limits the tools that you have access to, that limits how much you can do, and within that limitation, how it breeds creativity. Because if you don't have the full palette to work with, you have to focus on what you do have access to. And I believe that those exercises in limitation breed something extremely fun, creative, and fascinating, whether it's on music or whether it's on card games with formats like Pauper and Value Vintage in Magic the Gathering, whether it's now Genesis on Yu-Gi-Oh!, whether it's Commoner or Blitz on Flesh and Blood, and of course the reason why we're all here, Silver Age. What's up everyone, my name is M, head of the Rat House, Rat of the Head House, here from RathousePR, finally using this channel to make videos on TCGs because I am very, very excited about Silver Age. I have been looking forward to the official announcement of Silver Age since it was hinted at, since Project Blue, and you could say since Clash format was kind of introduced by the community, because I've been saying that I think Commoner is a great format, but Flesh and Blood needed that bridge to take us from budget entry format that can go even further into actually CC and beyond, right? The most exciting thing about Silver Age right now, and we're gonna look at the announcement and everything, but while we did have variants like Commoner, where we had the limitations on rarity, Sage kind of allows the heroes to really be more themselves, right? I think this was something that was outlined during the presentation of Project Blue. The community itself mentioned it when we were working with Clash format, where a lot of the cards that really pertain to the hero's identity and flavor, they're kind of locked behind rare. So when you're only playing with commons, even though it's a really cool limitation and I really enjoy Commoner, you're kind of missing what makes the hero special. So this is why I've been really excited for Project Blue, for Silver Age ever since it was announced. Why I immediately brewed a Project Blue Dromai deck, which I had a lot of fun playing with, which has now become a living legend deck. Things happen. So with all that in mind, let's have a look at the article over on the Fab website and see what Silver Age is actually all about. All right, so starting off, I don't know if y'all have seen this video. I'm not gonna play the whole thing because I don't want to get DMCA'd right off the bat, but it was a very nice video. And one of the things that I picked up from it that has me pretty excited is the fact that it is very clear that they are promoting Silver Age as the introductory format to get you on the pathway to competitive Flesh and Blood. You know, they want to get people playing, they want to get product on people's hands, and they want that experience of, pardon the redundancy, playing in the Flesh and Blood, right? I do think this is a great way to go about that. I know the Blitz decks were sort of that. I know the first strike decks were sort of supposed to be that as well. And the Armory decks, let's face it, while they were very good as a jumping off point, it's not really an introductory product. It's not beginner friendly. If you just pick that up and you get like a little card with a QR code teaching you how to play Ira, then it may not be the easiest onboarding tool for a new player. So I think that what they're doing with Silver Age is very, very smart in 2 fronts. Gameplay-wise and financially. I'll go over both in a little bit, but just going over the announcement real quick. So it says that it's an entirely new way to play Flesh and Blood using only common, rare, and basic cards. It features Flesh and Blood's iconic roster of young heroes, and games are fast, fun, and friendly on the wallet. We love to see this. One of the biggest complaints that I have gotten from people who I've tried to get to play Flesh and Blood is the fact that when you start, and let's say you build a budget deck, if you're not playing with a budget-minded group or kitchen table or someone who's powering down their deck, and you go to your local armory, you're going to get stomped by optimal decks. And when you look at the cards that they're playing, let's say you're really into Arachne, or you're really into, well, everyone plays it, so who cares, but you see Command and Conquer as a card that you really want to add to your arsenal, and it turns out that the card is $90 per card. It is a steep barrier when you don't even know if you want to continue playing the game, when you don't even know how much do you want to invest into Flesh and Blood. So that has always been to me a barrier that the game has had, where if you are not with a play group or you're not in that competitive mindset, it's kind of hard to jump from introductory to competitive, right? It feels like in other games, for example, in Magic the Gathering, sorry to use it as an example again, but you could play Modern, but you can play Standard, you can play Pauper, you can play... Some people say there's a format called Pioneer. I am not too sure about that right now, but it exists apparently. You have different formats and they do have different price entries. And while, you know, not all of them may be as accessible, there is that option, right? You can just go and sign up for a Pauper event. Flesh and Blood kind of had that hard line at a moment where you either played CC or you played Blitz, which for a time was CC Light. I love Blitz. Blitz is the reason I started playing Flesh and Blood. Blitz is where I fell in love with my first hero, Levia, who is actually getting built for Silver Age very soon. But it is still a steep price of entry. And like we mentioned before, Commoner is not a format where you kind of feel that the hero is performing at their best. You know, they're not using all their arsenal. I keep saying arsenal, and arsenal is a thing in Flesh and Blood, and it's confusing me, but you get the point. Okay, so let's go back to the article, right? Because I'm a big fan of what they're doing here. And Silver Age offers thrilling gameplay supported at all levels of play, from casual throwdowns at your local game store to the nail-biting high-stakes competition of the World Tour. With affordable deck building, fast-paced and exciting games, and a robust organized play program, Silver Age is the ultimate way for everyone to enjoy Flesh and Blood. I think that really, really hits the nail on the head. It allows new players to jump on. It allows established players to try new deck building challenges, like we mentioned at the start, having that limitation of, okay, I love playing Levia, but how do I play Levia if I have no mythics, right? Oh, I have no Blood Rush Bellows, I have no X or Y, no Beast Withins, right? Like, what am I going to do with that? So how do you adjust your playstyle to that limitation? I think it's really smart, and I think it's a really fun thing to mess with. So not only having it as an option for new players, but having it be a competitively viable format really has me excited. And it's one of the reasons why I've been wanting to jump on Silver Age, and I get to play Icelander because I never got to play Icelander, and Ice Woman, I am available. Silver Age will be launching with a roster of these decks, and I think that is a fantastic lineup. I was kind of afraid they were going to do like 2 or 3 only, which would have still been pretty good. But the fact that we have, I can't count, I think it's 8. No, it's 10. It's 10 decks. I could have read this here. It's 10 pre-constructed decks, right? And not only that, they are competitively designed, and they bring a booster pack. I think for $1990 US, that is kind of an unbeatable deal. I do know that the Blitz decks, I believe, were around $11, but considering how they played, the upgrades that you needed to do, I feel that what they're pushing towards with Silver Age kind of works a lot better. And again, I love Blitz. I'm not happy that Blitz is gone from the competitive scene. I do feel there is a room for Blitz, because what if you kind of want a even more high-powered young hero, faster games but more high power? I think there is still room for Blitz. Obviously, you can have community events for it. Obviously, you can, you know, play it at your armories, at your local game store. But I think that what Silver Age is offering here, I'm very excited about. So yeah, it's going to be 2 collections, Chapter 1 and 2, 5 heroes each. KO, Icelander, Viserai, Dash, Bravo. This is a lineup, dude. Like, you have Wizard, you have Brute, you have Runeblade, Mechanologist, and Guardian. If you're jumping into this being a competitively viable, beginner-friendly format that can be pushed to its limits, I think it's fantastic to have that ample choice of heroes, right? I did want to look into this because there are limitations to the format. Like we've mentioned, it's only commons, only rares, and only basics, right? This applies to heroes, and there's a few young heroes that are going to be essentially locked out of Silver Age. You have Enigma New Moon, you have the Mythic Prism, that's also a young hero. So I'm curious if they are going to do anything with those types of heroes, if we're just going to face out of Mythic and Legendary young heroes, if they're going to be, obviously they're going to be playable in Blitz, but since Blitz is no longer going to be a competitively supported format, it would kind of like suck to have people who like those cards not be able to play them. But it is something that I'm looking forward to seeing if they clarify or they bring more details on, because you know they're there for a reason, and some people have emotional attachment to their heroes. But yeah, I think the format is looking fantastic. We have updates on the ban list. You can check it out on the portal as well. Let me go back over here. But yeah, I think I'm mostly excited about the fact that now we do get the option to have a middle ground between you're just a brand new player or you're a CC player, right? And then Living Legend or whatever you want to play. There are definitely questions, but I think that the fact that Silver Age has addressed a lot of the concerns so efficiently, I'm very much looking forward. Again, the barrier of entry is significantly lowered. You can now get people jumping into Flesh and Blood for 20 bucks, and they have a competitively viable deck, which they can upgrade, and they can upgrade at a relatively low cost, since you're going to have bulk lying around. You're going to have people at your LGS who are going to be more than happy to help out. I know that people in my LGS just give away commons and rares. And that barrier of entry being lower is going to get people falling in love with the game. I think that is a perfect way to do it. I think that the fact that you're going to be able to use your bulk is great. And right now, with Silver Age, with it being a competitive format, with it being a viable format, I can actually take a look at what I have lying around and maybe reinvent yourselves, right? You can reinvent decks, you can brew new ideas, and that's one of the things that I wanted to point out, because that allows for extended growth. I don't know if my brain translated that correctly, but that allows for growth on the game. If you're invested and there's a constantly developing game where commons and rares can be used for competitive decks, you can constantly be brewing, you can try new ideas, you can take them to your armory. I think there's lots of things that we can do as players of Flesh and Blood with Silver Age as a format that, while we could do with Blitz and in a sense with Commoner, it kind of is a more cohesive thing now with this new format. Like I was saying, and I'm going to be doing shortly, the fact that we can now take decks, for example, that we may not have been playing as much because they're not as competitively viable. I keep pointing Leviathan to the camera. they're not as competitively viable as the current meta. Would we still love? We could turn them into Silver H decks, and I think that allows for a lot of longevity in the game that I think it's fantastic. I think it's a very positive note. I know I'm kind of rambling in here, but I think this is exactly what I've been saying that Fab needed for the longest time. I think it's what gets you new players, what keeps new players, what brings new life into the game, and the fact that they're pushing it as a competitive format. I think it's going to lead to a lot of new players, or a lot of new experiences, and a lot of new decks that we're going to be brewing. These are pretty much my thoughts on Silver Age. I am so incredibly excited. I know I've been rambling a little bit. I hope you've sort of enjoyed my hype package of being hyped at the package of Silver Age. I'm excited and I want it, and I am going to be brewing so many decks right now. I'm gonna brew Leviathan. I'm gonna be playing Icelander. I'm gonna be very excited to go to my local game store and play at the Silver Age armories and events, and I hope that you are as well. Hey, if you want to toss me an interaction, that's fine. If you want to tell me if you're planning on brewing anything, if you got some ideas, if you agree, if you disagree, if you're going to miss Blitz, because I do miss Blitz, and again, maybe we'll talk about that at a later time, because there's still room for Blitz. I do have one question that I don't know the answer to yet. So, is there going to be a Living Legend style rotation as part of Silver Age? Is there going to be anything past the ban list, or are we just going to have Eternal format? Because if it's an Eternal format, I'm going to be very happy, because I'm a fan of Eternal formats. If anyone has the answer to that, or if you want to tell me about the decks you're planning on brewing, or ideas that you have, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, you don't have to like or share or subscribe or anything. I'm not your boss, but I just hope that you enjoy this new format, you enjoy Flesh and Blood, and I will see you around. So, bye-bye.